Greetings, this is Harvey Cthulhu. Push the subscribe button, or Doomcock will push my button, and I'll destroy the world. Thank you very much. Hope you subscribe.
Alert, alert, this is a Doomcock News alert. Alert, alert, this is a Doomcock News alert.
Greetings, I am Dicta Van Doomcock, the future ruler of Earth. And people sometimes ask me, Doomcock, why do you want to rule the world? The answer is simple. Because the world is going to shit, and I want to save it. But given that I'm a supervillain, and not a superhero, I realize that you can't make an omelet without destroying a few cities. Saving the world entails building a giant robot army to conquer the world. But what proof do you have, Doomcock, that the world is in such a sorry state? My friends, I just received a report from Agent Pepsi 1, one of my spies in America's educational system, offering proof from the ground of how bad things have gotten not merely for Star Wars, but for Western civilization itself. Agent Pepsi 1 is currently undercover as a teacher in one of the many declining clone factories that used to be called schools. On a recent live stream with Doomcock, she said in the chat that kids at her school are not at all into Star Wars, that Marvel had replaced Star Wars as the go-to for future geeks. I asked her to elaborate in an exclusive report, and here is what she said. My liege, the students I teach are grades 9 through 12, with the majority probably 11th to 12th grade. You see occasional Marvel t-shirts and such, but never a Star Wars t-shirt. I bring up Darth Vader in my classes, as he is one of my favorite characters all the time, and many of them have either never heard of him or even seen a Star Wars movie. It is not that they have a terrible or even disinterested attitude towards Star Wars, but that they occupy their time with other things, primarily things such as texting and social media. The amazing storytelling, particularly of episode 4 and 5, is totally lost on them. I've often lamented that this current generation is even more useless than the millennials. They are unable to formulate anything by themselves and totally dependent on others. The majority have no ability whatsoever for critical thinking skills or deductive reasoning. A major factor in this is their complete lack of ability, coupled with their total dependence on social media for everything, instead of using it as a tool to further an end. Generation Snowflake, millennials, and Generation Snowflake 2, the hellspawn current crop, simply cannot process advanced materials and concepts. 2001: A Space Odyssey, for example, would be completely lost on them, as they have little comprehension anything exists outside their sugar-coated world, as everything has always been simply handed to them. There are a few bright spots here and there, but for most, it is lights out, and their stupidity and ignorance is mind-numbing. So yes, unfortunately, Star Wars is not only in decline, but literally forgotten, as it requires effort to process and take in. Marvel is a little bit different, as superheroes have always found a place. On the whole, I really fear we as a society have failed when observing these children. Everything that is the least bit difficult is automatically rejected. Nothing is seen as a challenge, and everything as an insurmountable obstacle. Participation trophies for everyone. I had a parent-teacher conference today with the mother of a 9th grader in one of my classes. My child has always had A's and B's. Why does she have an F in your class? I said, because she spends her time talking, goofing off, and not studying. Unlike in junior high, I actually have to assign grades for performance and not simply participation. She has an F because she doesn't perform to the level she should at this point. The parent left my class and went straight to my administrator to complain about me and my incompetence. This is not the exception, but the rule now. In fact, I am so fed up with teaching that I am actually thinking about resigning. I am just burned out by the stress of the job and the utter disrespect I receive from students and parents on a daily basis. Now, this is a report from the ground from one spy, yes, but this echoes things I've heard from other spies, other sources. Disney itself acknowledged that Star Wars merchandise sales are in decline, and Star Wars dolls and toys targeting the young female Disney demographic line the shelves at Targets and Walmarts, gathering dust. Kids who are still into Star Wars these days were introduced to it by their parents who are fans, or were. But now that the very parents who used to convey these modern myths to their kids have been alienated by The Last Jedi and driven out of the fandom as a result of their anger, the future for Star Wars looks grim indeed. But that was only one part of the report. Even more alarming to geek culture and fandom is the decline of Western civilization referenced in this report from The Field by Agent Pepsi 1. How can we continue to enjoy the excellent and intelligent programs like The Expanse and The Orville when our schools are cranking out dummies and pod people? Is Agent Pepsi 1 an alarmist? Or is the upcoming generation as bad as she describes, stunted by social media, short attention spans, and the stuff they're putting into the water to turn frogs gay? Well, according to Jill Barchet, published recently on the Hetchinger Report, the latest Progress in International Reading Literacy Study, PEARLS, a reading comprehension test given to fourth graders in 58 countries and regions around the world, showed that U.S. performance is sliding in both absolute and relative terms. American fourth graders, on average, had worse reading skills than they did 5 years earlier, in 2011, with scores slipping 7 points on a 1,000-point scale. At the same time, other countries leapfrogged ahead of us. The United States slipped from 6th to 15th place in this international ranking. This follows 2 other disappointing test results that had largely pointed to problems in math skills. Both 4th and 8th grade students posted declines on the math section of the 2015 National Assessment of Educational Progress. 8th graders had done worse in reading too. And another international exam, the 2015 Program for International Student Assessment, showed back-to-back deterioration in math performance among American 15-year-olds in 2012 and 2015. It looks dire on the surface because we see that we are losing ground, said Jocelyn A. Chadwick, president of the National Council of Teachers of English. Yes, my friends, in reading comprehension, the United States currently ranks behind Russian Federation, Singapore, Hong Kong, Ireland, Finland, Poland, Northern Ireland, Norway, Chinese Taipei, England, Latvia, Sweden, Hungary, and Bulgaria. At least we are currently ahead of Kazakhstan and the Slovak Republic. But this is grim news not just for Star Wars, but for geeks and fans everywhere. If our coming generation is incapable of reading, incapable of comprehension, incapable of critical thinking, what chance do our modern myths have to survive? They are ignorant of everything, not merely current franchises, not merely current pictures like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, but the works of genius of the past. The things that we cling to, that we hold dear, that we hold in esteem as representing our culture, our mythologies, and ourselves. And so, my friends, there you have it. Disney Star Wars has failed. They have not engaged kids, have not ignited in young minds the spark of imagination that blazed so brightly in that galaxy far, far away once upon a time. Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, the stupidity in these franchises is not a new phenomenon. It's merely the tail end of a trend of decline. The dumbing down of entertainment is the dumbing down of a generation. A generation of kids brought up on social media, participation trophies, and idiotic derivative television shows and movies filled with plot holes so egregious, I'm not at all convinced they don't cause brain damage. A brain must be fed to thrive, fed with ideas, fed with questions, fed with ideals. Did we think there would be no consequence to feeding kids the kind of mental junk food churned out by Jar Jar Abrams, by CBS, by Hollywood? I can't honestly say whether the unquestionable decline in the intelligence of Hollywood content is causing or is a reaction to the intellectual decline of our youth, but I can tell you this. Disney's Star Wars has failed to capture the attention and affection of an entire generation, and that galaxy far, far away gets further away from us every day. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.
Ha 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 ha.